The Amazon Expedition: Scale, Secrets, and Survival. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're setting off on a truly cinematic expedition right into the beating heart of the world's greatest and honestly, arguably most lethal rainforest. We're going to explore the massive scale, the hidden dangers, and the deeply buried ancient secrets of the Amazon. So get ready, because this ecosystem is absolutely going to change how you view the natural world.
What hides within the world's largest jungle? It's a question that's literally consumed explorers for centuries. Because from above, the Amazon might look like this vast, serene tropical paradise. But nothing could be further from the truth. This is a landscape that is just as much water as it is wood. It's this treacherous, incredibly complex empire where two worlds collide, and it demands absolute perfection from anything trying to survive in it.
390 billion. Let's just pause on that number for a second, because it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. That is the estimated number of individual trees currently standing in the Amazon rainforest. We're talking about roughly 16,000 different species that literally act as the lungs of the earth, breathing life directly into our global atmosphere.
A basin spanning 9 nations. To really understand how massive that collection of trees is, consider this. The Amazon Basin spans a monumental 7 million square kilometers. It stretches across 9 different South American nations. To put that sheer scale into perspective, if the Amazon were its own country, it would be the 9th largest country on Earth. It is a world entirely of its own making, operating by its own ancient rules.
The mighty Amazon River Network. Now, the main artery keeping this giant organism alive is the river itself, and it's an absolute beast. Every single second, it pumps an incomprehensible 29,000 cubic meters of water right into the Atlantic Ocean. That is so much fresh water that it actually pushes back the salt, turning the ocean sweet for up to 160 kilometers off the coast. It is quite literally the lifeblood of the jungle.
The river's confluence and the forest's self-made clouds. Okay, this is where it gets truly wild. This immense water system builds into a cyclical weather engine. Half of the rain that falls in the Amazon actually comes from the forest itself. The trees naturally release water vapor, creating these dense, popcorn-shaped clouds you can literally see from space. And this creates intense seasonal floods where the river swells by over 9 meters, completely merging the water right up into the forest canopy.
The unseen chemical war. Toxic plant defenses, vibrating leafcutter ants, and poison dart frogs. But the fight for survival isn't just about floods. There's a brutal, unseen chemical war happening on a microscopic level every single day. The trees are constantly deploying chemical shields and toxic poisons to stop animals from eating their leaves. In response, you've got leafcutter ants, whose jaws vibrate 1,000 times a second to slice through those toxic leaves, carrying them away to safely farm fungus underground. Add in creatures like poison dart frogs safely raising their young in Brazil nut pods, and you quickly realize this forest isn't just a jungle. It is a highly armed, microscopic battlefield.
Green anaconda. 250 kilograms of aquatic stealth. And yeah, the dangers get much, much bigger. Imagine a silent shadow just slipping through the dark, flooded forest waters. That's the green anaconda. Weighing up to 250 kilograms and growing as long as 9 meters, this giant doesn't hunt by chasing. It hunts by waiting. It blends perfectly into the aquatic shadows, waiting for the exact right moment to strike, wrap around its prey, and slowly suffocate it with every single exhaled breath. 860 volts. But the dangers definitely aren't limited to giant constrictors. Just imagine a shock of 860 volts. Deep in the murky depths of the river lurks the electric eel. This highly adapted predator uses an incredibly massive electrical discharge to instantly paralyze its prey. A shock of 860 volts is enough to shut down the nervous system of an animal many times its size. It's the undisputed terror of the riverways.
Dense tangles of lianas hide ancient survivors. And hiding right alongside them in the water are creatures that have literally outlived the dinosaurs. Enter the caiman. These apex reptilian predators can weigh up to 500 kilograms and stretch 5 meters long. But what's truly mind-blowing is that the caiman species has been ruthlessly dominating these exact same waters for over 80 million years. They are the true ancient kings of the riverbank. At night, the dolphin takes the form of a human. Now, not everything in the water is a terrifying reptile. The Amazon is also home to the highly intelligent pink river dolphin. And here is where the line between science and folklore just beautifully blurs. Indigenous legend says that at night, this dolphin takes the form of a beautiful human and walks right into local villages. Anyone who spots this shapeshifter is said to never return. It's a fantastic reminder of how deeply the jungle's magic is woven into the culture. The territories of the uncontacted. This deep magic is woven into the human enigma of the Amazon too. Deep within the most remote parts of this basin, there are human beings completely hidden from our globalized society. In Brazil alone, the government acknowledges over 100 isolated tribes. These communities hold an unparalleled, ancient botanical knowledge of this lethal ecosystem. They know exactly which plants heal, which ones poison, and how to survive where we would instantly perish. Uncontacted tribes, indigenous communities living in deep isolation, entirely separated from the modern globalized world. Now, the crucial point is why they remain uncontacted. It's not just about preserving a way of life, it's a matter of strict physical survival. There are intense laws preventing contact from the outside world because these isolated communities just do not have immunity to modern diseases. A simple, everyday common cold, something you or I would brush off in a couple of days, could prove completely fatal to an entire tribe. Unraveling the Lost City of Z. AD 1500, flourishing complex societies. 1925, explorer Percy Fawcett vanishes. 2017, LiDAR reveals hidden cities. The human history here goes incredibly deep, unfolding like a giant historical mystery. In the 1500s, early explorers reported massive, flourishing civilizations. Fast forward to 1925, the famous British explorer Percy Fawcett vanished without a trace into the jungle while searching for the legendary golden, lost city of Z. For decades, modern science said complex societies just couldn't exist in the Amazon. But then in 2017, breakthrough LiDAR technology changed absolutely everything. Terra Preta, the man-made black soil of the Amazon. So before we get to the lasers, we actually need to talk about dirt. This is Terra Preta, a charcoal-rich, incredibly fertile black soil found deep in the forest. For a really long time, the Amazon was considered a counterfeit paradise, meaning it was too poor in nutrients to support large-scale farming. But Terra Preta proved that dense, complex populations, perhaps up to 8 million people, actively managed and engineered the soil thousands of years ago to feed massive cities. The primeval interior covers an ancient past. And those modern LiDAR lasers I mentioned, they finally vindicated Percy Fawcett. By virtually peeling back the canopy, scientists discovered massive, ancient pre-Columbian cities hidden right beneath the primeval interior. We're talking about extensive evidence of geometric earthworks, widespread roads, bridges, and giant public plazas. An entire civilization had been swallowed up and guarded by the forest. The modern threat of deforestation. However, all of this brings our expedition to a pretty jarring modern reality. A mighty forest that has been intimately shaped by humanity over an 11,000-year history is suddenly facing an incredibly sudden and fragile vulnerability. Large-scale deforestation is tearing through this ancient biome at an alarming rate, and it's threatening millions of years of evolutionary perfection. Economic impact, forest preservation versus commodity deforestation. Looking at this strictly through the lens of data, the numbers tell a really compelling story. According to a 2023 report by the World Bank, the economic losses resulting from deforestation in Brazil are actually estimated to be about 7 times higher than the cost of all the agricultural commodities produced by clearing that land. So the data impartially suggests that preserving the forest is mathematically and economically far more valuable than cutting it down. If the Earth loses its lungs, how will the world breathe? Which brings us to our final lingering thought. We've seen the unbelievable scale of this ecosystem, its lethal and brilliant wildlife, its deep human mysteries, and its current fragility. It's a world that literally generates its own weather and sustains global life. So I leave you with this to ponder. If the Earth loses its lungs, how will the world breathe? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.